so next we'll be talking about the rest of the deck. So first we'll cover the artifacts. So first ones are fairly straightforward. You've seen them a bunch, and the next ones we'll talk about a little bit. So, your boots, Greed, Swiftfoot boots, obviously excellent for protecting Yisan from removal. Additionally, being able to grant haste to creatures that are entering the battlefield means that you can oftentimes chain up your 2-drop Dork to get the mana to untap Yisan, to tap Yisan, to get your 3-drop Dork to get the mana, etc., etc. So you're able to combo them in order to kind of have much more explosive turns. Winter Orb and Tanglewire I've found to be two of the best stacks effects. You're getting a lot of mana dorks out with Yisan, and so slowing down the game and allowing Yisan to get up the chain while your opponents have to fight through stacks effects is a good way to leverage an advantage. 1,000-Year Elixir allows you to likewise basically gives all of your creatures that are tapping for mana haste the turn they come down, and also serves as a way to untap any of your creatures, whether that be a heavy mana producing, Priest of Titania or Karametra's Acolyte or what have you, as well as just untapping Yisan so you can get more activations. Soul Ring is Soul Ring is Soul Ring. Not going to talk about that. Sword of the Perrons and Umbral Mantle combo off with anything that generates more than 3 mana. So say you have a Karametra's Acolyte with a whole bunch of devotion onto the board. Goes infinite, generates infinite mana, generates infinite untaps. Yisan searches out, say, Kamal Fist of Krosa, infinitely overruns, and then swings on the board to just kill everything. So pretty much anytime you draw one of these, if you can get Yisan to 4 verse counters and get to Karametra's Acolyte, or even 2 or 3 depending on the amount of elves on the board with, say, Priest of Titania or Velvethar's Druid, you can just combo off with these. So excellent cards in that regard. Then you have this last card, Illusionist Bracers. So you have the pretty, obvious combo of putting it on Yisan and then doubling the amount that you're actually being able to search for, because you'll get 2 creatures rather than 1. However, the slightly more, unforeseen but more powerful combo is to use Yisan to tutor out a Seeker of Skybreak while you still have Illusionist Bracers. So when you equip Seeker of Skybreak with Illusionist Bracers and tap him, as long as you have another mana dork out, which you virtually always will in this deck, say, a Llanowar Elves, Seeker of Skybreak activates, and 2 copies of his abilities go on the stack, 1 untapping a mana dork, and 1 untapping himself. You're able to do that an infinite number of times and generate infinite mana. You're then able to generate infinite untaps. And infinite untaps plus infinite mana generally wins the game with Yisan in short order, because you're basically able to get out 1 of every creature up to the maximum CMC of your deck. So, Kamal overrun game. So, that's a tutorable chain that can happen as early as turn 4, anytime that you start the game with an Illusionist Bracers in hand. So, very powerful combo, very easy way of winning the game off of that. So that's the artifacts. Next we'll talk about the enchantments. So, fairly straightforward, the ones that you would expect. So you have Burgeoning, Utopia Sprawl, and Wild Growth, because all of them generate great amounts of mana. You can combo Utopia Sprawl and Wild Growth with an Arbor Elf, and that gives you the ability to untap your forests and kind of go a little bit faster than you normally would be, since Arbor Elf does allow you to tap for, it'll basically be allowing you to generate 2 mana per tap rather than just 1. Burgeoning is an insane card with anything that allows you to bounce a land. So Quirion Ranger, bounce your lands to untap your mana dorks and replay your mana dorks whenever your opponents play lands. It means that you're generating mana on their turn as well as yours, and just leads to shenanigans. It's a pretty excellent card. Instill Energy and Nature's Chosen are basically just attached to a creature, untap that creature an extra time during your turn. So you can put them on Yisan and get some extra verse counters on him, or you can put them on something like a Karametra's Acolyte and get a whole bunch more mana. Interestingly enough, Instill Energy also grants haste, which can sometimes be relevant when you're playing mana dorks from your hand. or searching them up with Yisan. And then the last two, Quest for Renewal is a alternate way of getting the Seedborn Muse effect out. You only need to tap your creatures 4 times, and considering how easy it is to just tap Mana Dorks, that'll generally be triggering, the next turn after you play it. And that gives you the same type of effect that a Seedborn Muse does, but it oftentimes comes out a turn or so earlier. Concordant Crossroads is for when you're, generating absurd amounts of mana, and you need to just kind of play your hand and play your entire deck and win. And, you generally don't want to be playing it because it does help your opponents, but every once in a while you'll be able to play that, go Karametra's Acolyte, tap, activate enough mana to retap Yisan via an untap effect, and so you're able to just kind of combo out that way. So it deserves its place in the deck. So the next things that we'll be talking about are the standard instants and sorceries. There's not a lot of instants and sorceries in this deck. It is mostly creature, artifact, enchantment based, but there are some. So these are the tutors. So Worldly Tutor, Green Sun Zenith, Court of Calling. All excellent for going and finding your silver bullet cards that you didn't get in the beginning of Parts of the Chain because for whatever reason you did something else. But, they're all just excellent. No, don't really need to talk about it. For rotation, can go and grab Ancient Tomb, so it can serve as ramp, and it can also grab stuff like Wirewood Lodge to give you some untaps in your elves. And if you happen to have, a Gaia's Cradle lying around, it's a pretty good card, because, goes and gets that. Where this deck kind of differs from most other lists is the running of these next cards. So what these do is these are all ways to give your general, or whatever your creature you have that your opponents are targeting, protection. So say someone just for some reason really doesn't like your Yisan on 4 verse counters, and so decides to point a Path to Exile at them. You respond by throwing down a Vines of Vastwood and laughing at them as you continue on your merry way, untapping and doing generally broken shenanigans. So this costs you some slots, but you don't actually need that many slots of creatures for Yisan. And oftentimes your general value cards that you might often see in another green deck, like a Harmonize or Green Planeswalkers, are really inferior to the card advantage you can get just by keeping Yisan out a turn more. So it's oftentimes better to just protect Yisan than try to, create alternate threats from other cards in your hand. So that's why these cards are in here. So next we'll go over a little bit of gold fishing, so hopefully you can see how the deck works.